What is going on, you guys? Tutorial Tim here, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Chart plugin. There are two Charts plugins in Figma currently, and probably more than I know of actually. And the last video I taught you guys how to use the Charts plugin, which isn't nearly as robust as the current Chart plugin I'm about to show you. It's great. Before we get started, install this plugin. The link is in the description. I'm going to show you the majority of its key features. There were some things I did not manage to get to generate data, such as CSV, utilizing a shareable link with Google Sheets, and then I have not tried utilizing an HTTPS link, or like a REST API, because I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to show you the different options and how to customize these charts and whatnot, and you will also have access to this Figma file. As you can see, if we once you have the plugin installed, we go to Plugins, Charts, Create Chart, you're going to have to select a layer. So what I like to do is, how I got started was I just selected this frame. I created a frame. Once I had that bad boy selected, when you create a chart, it'll actually convert it to a group, and it'll just label it line chart. Just a little context behind how this tool is utilized. What's going on here? Anyways, I got all the chart types laid out for you, so we can go over this together. So we got the line chart, area chart, the stacked area chart. There's 13 of them. You don't want me to just tell you all of them. I'm going to show you how to use them. So these are all formatted in a very in an orderly fashion. I'm just going to explain that order to you. So if we go to Charts, Create Chart, we get this little modal. I'm going to select my line chart, and as you can see that in our settings, we're going to want to go to our settings, and I want you guys to understand what we can do exactly with these settings. And in the settings, we're going to be able to customize our chart. So we have the options to add hex values. So if I want a nice shade of black, I can add that in just using the hex value, and just hit enter. And what's nice about this is that it's almost like you can drag and drop to rearrange the colors. It doesn't feel that intuitive in my opinion, but it gets the job done. Just drag and drop, pretty straightforward. So it gives you a default color palette to utilize. And you can also, when you create charts, apply a grid. There's different grid types, which we'll go over. As you can see, here are the grid types right here in the Figma file are being represented really well under this stream graph. And for some reason, this graph does not have my without labels grid. So I'm going to just copy this real quick, place that there, get that nice and aligned. I'm going to click Save and Close without grid, not utilizing labels. I'm going to go to Save and Close, and then under this is a random chart from the stream graph. So I'm going to go to my stream graph. We got some input values here. You can type in how many areas you want, how many points, and the min and max values. I'm going to select random, and when I create the chart, you'll see that there will be the first grid implementation there. I think that was a bad example. Let's do that again. I'm going to click Create Chart. As you can see, this chart was created, and it was created without labels on the X and Y axis. So this is the without labels grid. You can kind of see what the option is for a grid with Y and X labels. It's actually a bad example. I don't see any labels on the Y-axis. So you'll notice that some things that I go over in this tutorial are, I think, still being developed because there's some bugs here and there. So I'm going to show you those so you don't have to run into those intricacies by yourself. So if we go to X and Y labels, Y and X labels, click Save and Close, and then click Create Chart, we'll get the input on the Y-axis and the X-axis. The reason this looks cluttered in the X-axis is because I did not remove the text from my previous chart that I created. So if I go here, go to Settings, I make sure I have my Y and X labels there. Maybe I want a full grid, so it'll give me the grid, the vertical and horizontal lines on my grid, and the type. You can choose any type of lines from curve straight to spline or spline. I'm going to click Save and Close. And if we go to Create Chart, you'll notice that we now have every parameter we've chosen in our settings. We got the full grid, we got the Y and X labels, and we have the spline lines. And that's pretty straightforward. And just so I'm not being repetitive in this tutorial, I laid out every single type of grid for you in this video. So everything we just kind of went over in the settings is applicable to every other type of chart. One thing I wanted to show you that I found odd was when I was creating these pie charts, and say I copied this pie chart over to switch these to donut charts to give you guys all the variations. I'm copying this over into this new frame. If we go over to click Save and Close, and we go over to donut chart, this originally used to be a pie chart. Let's go to that donut chart, and if we click Create Chart, you'll notice that it'll position it top and left, and then you'll get like this filled layer right here, and you don't want that. For some reason, it keeps that excess layer. I don't know if that's a bug or not. It's something to know. And if you remove it, you'll have your desired donut chart, or you can just create the donut chart from scratch. If I just create a frame here, and then go Create Chart, you'll get that donut. But make sure that your frame is constrained proportionally. So by that I mean, if you create a frame and you hold down Shift and expand, you will be creating a frame that is proportionate in width and height. So when I create a donut chart, it will fit within that container. So that's how you utilize the pie chart there. I think there is a bug when utilizing the progress chart. Again, all of these charts are very simple to use. You just click, you have your panel right here on the left hand side on what type. And also, if you are confused on which pie chart, which icon is whatever, which icon relates to what type of chart, all of these charts are in order based off of left to right in this this little left pane in the chart plugin. So you could reference my Figma file, and you can just duplicate it. It's as simple as clicking on that little caret and duplicate, and you'll have it in your drafts. So yeah, let's continue on with this progress chart. And with this progress chart, what you're going to want to do is we're going to go to this. Where is the progress chart? Right there. Okay. So on this progress chart, if I select the normal distribution type and I click Create Chart, it does not generate a chart. So if I go back to this trend down chart and I give it, say I want a minimum value, and go to trend down, it will give me a value of 25, between like 25 and 100. So that's one weird thing I found about this plugin, is when you're utilizing the progress chart, you can't really create a normal distribution chart. Not sure why. I'm not a data charts expert, so yeah. So without being repetitive, you can just create these charts. They all pretty much have the same functionality. As you see, I'm clicking through the majority of them. I'll have the option to select data distribution and have a minimum and maximum value to specify with a number of categories or bars or slices, depending on what type of chart you're using, whether it's like a line chart, progress chart, or like a pie chart. So that's how you utilize that. And also, if you have this plugin and you're utilizing my file, you click on the group and you have your plugin open, it'll just give you those settings, so you can see how I created those, and you can modify them from there and update them. So if we go to Create Chart, I'm going to show you now how to utilize the implementation of data utilizing JSON. So from my experience, I could not get the Google Sheet to work, but I'll show you what I do know. So if I go to Create Chart, I select my Google Sheet, and you have a Google Sheet, you can link to a Google Sheet. So I have a Google Sheet. I'm going to bring that window in here. This is also on the documentation page of the website, which will be a link in the description. So I have this chart test. You click on Get Shareable Link, click Done. I'm going to go back to Figma, paste this link, and I'm going to click on Sync with Google Sheets. And then it's going to generate all this data in your table here within this plugin. And then if you want to organize this in better fashion, you can click Transpose, and it'll organize that for you. And when you click create chart, I feel like it really doesn't clearly generate that data for you. And you'll also have to have the proper settings within your grid settings. So if I did not have my X and Y labels, I had without labels. So I added those, and I added like a full grid to apply some structure. And I'm gonna click on that, I'm gonna repaste that shareable Google Sheet link, sync with Google Sheets. I'm gonna have this chart here. I selected the first row as my X labels. Makes perfect sense to me. I'm gonna click transpose to organize this. You can also click transpose again to revert back to the current state, the first state of your Google Sheets, like table rows and columns. I'm going to click create chart. Data is not valid. Check examples. Not sure why that happens, which is a great issue that needs to be resolved that I have not found in the documentation. But notice that when you have the option of first row as X labels and you select transpose to organize that, and utilizing this plugin, I don't know how to explain it any other way. It generates that for you. So if by default, you don't have first row as X labels, and then when you add your Google Sheet in, you can also unlink it and have that data in there after you've pasted in the link to pull all that data. And then you can click transpose, make sure that first row as X labels is selected, and then you can create your chart. And it'll generate those X labels being the months, and then the numbers, the data sets, data 1 and 2, it'll grab those numbers and then apply that as the minimum and maximum values on your chart, on our line chart in this case. So I click create chart, it'll regenerate that for me, and that's how you utilize the Google Sheet plugin. That was my first successful approach on using that. Anyways, I also have this test file. The link's going to be in the description for utilizing JSON. So if we go to their documentation, which is the link is right here, as you can see on the screen. We go to JSON Data. They give us an example set of data. What you can do is, if you have a code editor or whatever, you can create a file, paste this in the file, save it, and you can upload it locally. So that's exactly what I did. I have a terminal for those of you who don't know what that is. I don't know what to tell you. Just Google it. So I'm going to open my Finder here via terminal, and I have this test file which you can also utilize in the repository on my GitHub repo. You can use that as an HTTPS link, I believe. And I have this JSON, so if I open it in my code editor, I'll go to Visual Studio. Whoops, wrong code editor. Gonna quit that. Gonna open with Visual Studio Code, and I have this set of data here. And as you can see, for those of you who don't know what this is, it's just like a hash, set of hashes with keys. These are the keys right here, and these quotes with the light blue color, and then the values that are related to it. So this date points to this number, and then the price points to this set of numbers, and which is just a string, and then the sales points to this integer value, and it's just repeated. And it's in like an array or whatever, hash. And if we go to Figma and we click on this frame or group, and we go to JSON and click local JSON, you go to drop down to access your files. And if you've saved this file on your computer, you can click it, click open. It'll give you a selection. It'll give you a selection of keys that I was telling you about. So the keys being date, price, and sales, which are indicated right here, date, price, and sales. And then what is going to be our X label? So what do we want to be appearing on our X-axis? Is it going to be the date, the prices, or the sales? So for me, I think I'm just going to keep the date as is, and then I'm going to use the price and sales on my Y-axis to generate those numbers, the pricing and the sales. And on what dates did I get those types of pricing and sales? So if I click create chart, you'll see that it generates that. And if you're not sure how that works, if you go to the text file, your code editor, wherever you, or even the GitHub link with my chart plugin JSON file, you'll be able to see the direct relation to the chart and the values. So if I go here and select this, we made sure that our date was on the x-axis here. So as you can see, the first date is 21.03, which is our first key value in this hash. And then our second hash, we have our second date, which is 22.03 right here. And then our third hash right here with these open and closing brackets, third hash, separated by commas, we have 23.03. And then we have the range of numbers starting at 20 all the way to 140 to represent our price and sales. And that's kind of general understanding of JSON and how that's implemented into charts in Figma. And that's as far as I got. I wasn't able to utilize a HTTPS link, although I'm sure it's not difficult. You can also resize this text editor. I'm sure there should be some restrictions to that, so just know that you have that ability to display really long links. And you can also access the documentation by clicking on help. It'll take you directly to the website and like getting started, getting a better understanding, and utilizing templates and whatnot. So that is how you use the Figma chart plugin by Pavel. I forget what's his first name, Pavel Kuligin. Sorry if I butchered your name. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and thought it was helpful and would like any other tutorials specific to this plugin or any other plugins, let me know in the comments section below, and leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.